So this week we're going to do the Maimer Shishim Hem Malachas, which is on Daf Mem. So the Daf is Daf Mem, but we're going to do until Ois Gimel, which is Mem Aleph Amid Aleph, the first half of this Maimer of Shishim Hem Malachas. So here the Alter Rebbe begins Shishim Hem Malachas. There are 60 queens, Shemani Pilakshim. There's 80 concubines, and this is the pasuk in Shir Hashirim. And Chacham said that the 60 malachas, 60 queens, are the 60 mesachtas that we have in Mishnayos, and the 80 pilakshim, the 80 concubines, these are the braises, and then alamis, which is the unmarried girls, koyal halachas, go on all the different halachas, which means the different sayings of the Amirayim, of the Gemara rabbis, the rabbis of the Talmud. And the Medrash Hashirim says, Alamasei Mispar goes on l'toisefes, or l'toisefes, which means all the toseftas that there are, there's tosefta ratio, many different toseftas, and that there's unlimited amount. So you have to understand, why is it that Mishnayos are called Malachas, queens, braises are called Pilakshim, and also to understand why in the beginning of the Ten Commandments of Atzeres Adibris it says, Vaydaber L'kim is called Dvarim Ha'ela Leimer, that the Eibusher spoke all these words saying, being that that's the Ten Commandments, all the Jewish people heard them from the Eibusher himself, so why do you say Leimer to say? Who is it being repeated to? Why does Moshe, in other words, all the other mitzvahs of Torah, which Yisrael heard from Moshe, and Moshe heard it from Hashem, so therefore Hashem says Leimer, you should tell it over to the Jewish people. In other words, that the Eibusher says to Moshe to repeat it, and say it to the Jewish people, about that which all the Jewish people heard it from Hashem. You can't say this. So similarly, we find the Mishnah of Perkei Saita on the Lamer that isn't as Yashir, that it says that the Jewish people sing Ashira Hazois Lamar. In other words, they already said Ashira Hazois. As Yashir, they're singing. So what is Lamar? So what does the word Lamar add? And so this is the same question. What is the word Lamar here adding? So we have to first introduce on the meaning of the pasuk of Kol Doidi Hine Zeba, that the voice of my beloved here, behold, it is coming, jumping on the hills and leaping on the mountains. Which the voice of my beloved, this goes in the time of Matan Torah, because Matan Torah it says that that the whole nation saw the sounds. Someone seeing the sounds, meaning that's a time of Kol. So what it says that it's coming, Hine Zeba, which actually means in the present, and it doesn't say it in the past, is because in truth this sound is also coming now at every moment, at every time, when a person is sitting and involved in the learning of Torah. So then it is coming and it's being drawn down, essential, or that voice that was a time of Matan Torah, as we'll explain further in the matter. And so to understand all this, and also to understand the idea of jumping on the mountain, so to first understand idea of the evolvement of the world. Because it says in the pasuk, that in all the scholars, all the wise of the world, someone within and from all their kings, there's none like you. But David Malach says something different. In other words, that he says, Rabbi Sasisa Ato Hashem, that you have created, you've made much or many, you Hashem. Your wonders and your thoughts are to us. And there's nothing that is within your realm. So, in other words, by the Goyim, it says that there's no king like you. It's within realm. But here it says, there's nothing that's beyond the realm. It's not comparable at all. And the idea here is that in truth is, the scholars of the nations of the world, they also admit in the godliness of Hashem and God. And that's what it says that amongst all the Goyim, Chachmei HaGoyim is unlike you. And as Azariah said, that the Kavanah here is that they also know that there's none like you. Even the Goyim recognize it. Only that they say that the creation is in a way of evolvement to the world's Ilah V'Alol. That the emanation, an emanator emanates something. There's cause and effect. And it's known that the causation has a certain level of of a relationship with what has been caused. In other words, they're within some realm of each other. In other words, for example, at least by a person, we find he has intellect and emotions, and he has thought, and he has speech, and each one gets created and brought about from the other. In other words, from the contemplation in one's mind, you give birth to a emotion to do kindness and such things. So even though that the emotion is not similar, it's not the same as intellect, yet it has it's related to it, that in accordance with the intellect and what the intellect is, that is how you'll have this emotion. in a revealed way of kindness, to do kindness. And therefore a child, he wants and desires small things because of his poor intellect or knowledge, and the one who is adult and mature, because he has a great intellect, he doesn't like these small things anymore. And it says that according to one's intellect does one praise, and Shir refers to midas, so therefore the praise of the midas is really dependent on one's intellect. So we see that the emotion of love and fear and such things is in accordance with the intellect. And also the intellect ultimately encloses itself afterwards within the emotion how to do the kindness. And that's the idea of cause and effect, or emanator and emanation, that the emanator has emanated has something that's of realm, he's connected, he's within some relationship with the thing that caused him. And the same thing also with regard to a emotion, in comparison to thought, which it actually encloses itself in the thought, and then the thought within the speech, and each one creates one from the other in a evolvement, and therefore each one causes changes in the other, that there's a change in the causer through that which he enclosed himself within that which he caused, and it's not like, and he doesn't stay in his essential being as he was without that which he caused. So for example, a person who thinks about a certain type of love, so it's for sure that this intellect gets enclosed within that love, and he cannot think about other types of intellect or other types of things, because the entire intellect is filled with this emotion. So it comes out that there's a change in his intellect from the way it was before on its own, in just the form of thought and ideas, and how it comes afterwards in the thing that he caused, which is an idea here of love. And that's the way it is in everything that's cause and effect, or anything that's emanator and emanation. And being that all the worlds and all the creations, they come from the thought of Hashem, so you might think, heaven forbid, that they also are created through the evolvement of cause and effect, or of this emanation, emanator, and as this is the way the original nations of the world thought. Now this, David Malach says, Olav Shalom, that Rabbi says, you made much, but there's nothing within your realm, nothing comparable to you. Why? Because all the worlds they cause no change within the Eibishter. May be blessed. And as the statement is that you were as you were before the world was created, and you are the same after the world was created. In other words, equally, without any change, that it says, I am God, I do not change. And that is because that the worlds are not within the realm at all of the Creator, and even the life force that's within them, that comes from the thought of Hashem. And it is also only the way it's created is only through a jump and contractions, and not in a way of cause and effect, heaven forbid, as explained soon. And therefore they're totally considered like nothing before God, and just as before the world was created. And that's why we say, the David HaMelech says, that your great wonders and your thoughts are only to us, meaning that through the thought of Hashem, there becomes a creation and an evolvement of worlds, and that's what says Rabbi says, Hashem, meaning that this riboy, the rabbis, the tremendous amount of worlds and creations, they're all being created through what? From one thought of Hashem. And yet, we're totally beyond, it's beyond our realm. In other words, that all the creations of the world from the Hashem's thought is not in a way of cause and effect or emanator and emanation, only that they're totally out of the realm in comparison to the thought of Hashem that is giving it its life and and creating it from nothing into something. And that's why it says, Agida v'adabera atzmu misaper, meaning that I will tell and I will speak how it's more than that could be counted, meaning being that God is unlimited, if so, in the world, the creation of the world from the thought of Hashem, if it would have been through an evolvement of cause and effect, so then the worlds never would have been a limited place with boundaries, as they are now. Only everything would be unlimited and without a limit, without boundaries, as Hashem Ein Sof is. And that's what it says, Atmu Misaper. In other words, that to be able to have this level of unlimitedness, it would be unlimited. And that's why we say your wonders and your thoughts are to us, and there's no, without the realm, and I'll draw this, and I'll speak this, that this drawing down from the thought of Hashem to us is in a way that we're totally outside of the realm, and it's not in a way of cause and effect, heaven forbid. Okay. Or he says, you could explain it, that the idea of Nifaisecha Machshaveisecha Elenu Ein Aroich, there's a level of Soiv Kalam. And as we'll speak further, that's the idea of Kaddish Muvdal, that Hashem is separated, this level of Soiv Kalam. But to have that this light should come within the world, and this it says, Agidav Rabbeira, that I will draw it down, I'll say it, Atzmu Misaper, that the amount of contractions that there are, tens of thousands, without unlimited numbers, until you're able to get this drawing down of this light down into these worlds. And look what he says in other places. Okay. Beis. He says, therefore the Chacham called the Eibishter with the name HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means the Holy One, blessed be He. In other words, that He is holy and separated from all the worlds, and the world and everything that fills the world do not cause within him any change. And that is because they have no relationship, so to speak, to him. May he be blessed. And that's how it's called Seviv Kol Almin, that he surrounds all the worlds. And it's known that the meaning is not that he surrounds like a circle that surrounds the world, because it says that Hashem fills, as the Shemayim v'Sa'aretz Animala, he fills the heaven and the earth and both of them equally, and he himself is filling it. So he's within the world. Only the idea is that the way the sustenance comes from him is not in a way of revelation within the world, as cause and effect would have, because in the involvement of cause and effect, the thing that is affected, it knows and understands some type of understanding in the thing that caused it, in its emanator, and it's nullified to it through this understanding. In other words, that the sustenance of the emanator within the emanation is in a way that it's revealed within the emanation, that which has been emanated. On the other hand, in the creations, in comparison to the light and power that flows upon them from the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, which is creating us from nothing into something, which is power that flows within it, we don't understand at all whatsoever. And therefore, the creation is something that is of ego and something that's separate, so to speak, in his own eyes, because of this concealment. But only in truth, it is as it was before, that before Hashem, you are totally like nothing. And this is the idea of Soiv Kol Almin, that this sustenance that comes from Hashem is in a way of concealment. Because if it was revealed, so then it couldn't be this evolvement that there wouldn't be any worlds at all. Only it would be like the Ein Sof itself, like we said before, unlimited. But in truth, we say there is nothing empty before God, and just as before the world, He is there also, and not only is He surrounding, He is within the world, and therefore He's within the world, but concealed, and we don't see Him there. In other words, because He's totally beyond the realm, and therefore it's not in a revealed way, it's just that He is in essence here, but we don't necessarily recognize it. And that is why, because Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means that He is holy and He's removed from the world. And the creation, which is something from nothing, is exactly from nothing. In other words, that the light and the life force that comes into the world is like nothing in comparison to Hashem. And that is that the main creation of all the worlds is through the attribute of God's kingship. As it says, Yachid, the only one, Chei Ho'ilamim, the life force of the world, Melech, is what? Is the level of Melech King. That means that in truth, He is Yachid and Meyuchad, He is one and united, He's unique, and He's the only thing as He is before the world was created, nothing other than Him. And the Mechei Elam, but all the life force of the world, is only from the level of king, and just like a king of flesh and blood, that his being a king over the entire country is only doesn't come from his essential being, because his essential being is that which he's a wise person, understanding. So his whole idea of his kingship is that his name is called upon the entire country upon which he rules. The same thing we'll understand above, that the creation and the bringing about of all the different worlds, the supernal ones and the lower ones, is only through the attribute of his kingship, which all the worlds do not have any resemblance. They have no measurement of relationship, and they're not, so to speak, shaykh to the essence and the being of Hashem, which is totally exalted and beyond them. And this life force and this creation of the worlds that gets drawn to them, it only comes from the fact that His name of king is called upon them. And we know that the name king, the level of king, is never without, must have a nation, which is from the term of diminished coals, which means diminished things, and therefore, therefore, this level of malchus is called by the term of the crown of the king. And just like the crown is a I don't know the word for atara, is a tiara, which is on the head and made from beautiful stones, which really have no connection whatsoever with the essence of the person who's wearing them. Yet within this crown, then when he's wearing it, it's revealed and recognized his kingship. The same way also the level of Malchus of Atzilus, which is that all the worlds are not connected to the essence of Hashem, that he should have any type of change within God. Heaven forbid. Only the life force and the creation of all the worlds and all creations is from the level of the attribute of Malchus, of kingship, that through all the worlds we recognize the attribute of God's kingship. And then he's called a king upon them. As we say, there's no king without a nation. My apologies. So he says, so there's no king without a nation. And as we said before, a nation is from the term of diminished cause. That means it's specifically through contractions and concealments, that through these contractions, there's able to be. So he said that a nation is from the term of oimimus, of diminished. In other words, that all these contractions and concealments that are happening through all these contractions, then there could be able to be this level of king, that we could recognize and see God's kingship. But in truth, in other words, in all the creation of all the worlds, but in truth, though he is surrounding the world, Seiv Kalaman, and God doesn't change. And just like it is before the world was created, that he fills the heaven and the earth, the same way as now. And that is why also Malchus is used by it also has the term name, because the term name shows on something being revealed. And that's which Hashem is called a king, is that only that he is being revealing his level of kingship through this concealment of himself. And therefore the Eibush is called HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning on the one hand he is Kadosh, and on the other hand he is Baruch. Meaning on the one hand he is separated and holy, on the other hand he gets drawn down. In other words, in its essential way, essential self, he is holy and separated from the world. And yet he's also called Baruch. In other words, what does the word bracha mean? That he's drawn down and gets drawn down into the world through the name, through his name and through his kingship, that from the level of Malchus, it's drawn down to create all the worlds. And this is what it says, that Hashem had a desire that he should have a dwelling place down here on earth. That means that there should be the creation of these lower worlds through this tremendous amount of contractions, which are more than we could count. And yet there should be a dwelling place, and a place where God's light, holy light, dwells and is revealed. And it says it will be revealed the glory of God, and we will see God eye by eye, eye to eye. In other words, that through drawing down this level of Seiv Kalam, which before spiritual and physical and above and beyond and below are all equal, and then through that we're able to make this dwelling place down here. And this is similar to what Chacham said. In the place of God's greatness, that's where you find his humility. Meaning his humility is that when he is able to lower himself to watch the worlds of heaven and earth, the physical heaven and earth, also to all of its details and details of details, that he's able to check the kidneys and hearts of each person, and actually from the steps of man are in the hands of God. In other words, everything is with a total providence and gaze and involvement of God in every detailed aspect of this world. Which just is a great humility, that he is in essence unlimited, and yet he is lowering himself to watch all these lowly creations, etc., which this is also his greatness. Because in truth, being that God is totally holy and removed, and he surrounds all the world, you can't say that this is his greatness, that which he created, the supernal world, because even the highest world, let's say Gan Eden Elyon, the supernal Gan Eden, Garden of Eden, is only a light and a ray of Hashem, and before him, darkness is equal to light, and light is like darkness, and even a dark light is even a bright light is dark before the cause of all causations. Only the opposite is true. That which he lowers himself to see and watch what's in heaven and earth, that's his greatness. And the idea is, as it says in the Gemara, that it says that Hashem counts the seed, the sperm, the semen of the Jewish people. That sperm that comes out from their relations, and this it says that the eyes of Bilam, the wicked, became blind, because he said that a Tahar Naim, one who is pure of eyesight, pure of everything, should be not looking at evil. In other words, it's according to his and the non-Jewish mistake that the creation of all the world is in a way of evolvement from one thing that causes the other. Because if so, it's proper that the God should be beyond the world, higher than the worlds, higher than the nations, without lowering himself to see in a divine providence everything that's going on in the world. It's below him. It's not proper for someone who is pure to look into bad things. Because that which is evolvement of cause and effect, or emanation, emanator, So that the emanator that goes in and closes itself within the emanation causes a change in it. And therefore it's not proper that God should enclose himself so low into these causations of this lower world, of this physical world, that it should be that one of pure eyesight should look into evil and to see evil. And therefore it'd be better that he should be exalted and above without lowering himself so low down here. But according to the truth, as we've explained about the way the Jewish people believe that Hashem is holy and removed from all the worlds and everything and all the sustenance that comes from him, is not in a way of enclosing itself within, so to speak, cause and effect. And as we explained before at length in this idea that the wonders and your thoughts are to us, but there's nothing within your realm, which ein arich mamish means totally beyond the realm, not in any way, not close to it, from the way of the entanglement that there may be in the evolved world, from an emanation to from an emanator to an emanation. That until the point that even though he gives life and he creates all the worlds from nothing into something, yet it causes no change within him whatsoever through this life force that he gives to them. As we said before the statement, Yachid, that he who is the only one, and yet the life force of all the world is only the level of the king, only from the level of Melech, and therefore he is equal now. Also, just like before the world was created, he's the only thing. And therefore, being that which he gives life to all the world don't cause any change within him whatsoever, therefore there's nothing big or small that is happening outside of him, within all the worlds, whether they're supernal or lower. And as we say, the Rabbi said, a person doesn't bend his finger down here unless it's being announced upon him and is basically happening from something going on above. Or as it says, Sha'ov Avadoin Neged Hashem, that even the place of Sha'o, which is Gehenim and destruction, is before God. Yodama b'chashaycha, knows what's in the darkness, and if a person hides in the most hidden places, and I won't see him, I am God. In other words, that he could see everywhere. He is within everywhere. And all these different divine providences where he's involved and watching everything going on, they cause no change in him whatsoever, heaven forbid. And just like he gives life and he creates them from nothing into something, and it doesn't cause any change in him because of that reason, that he is totally beyond the realm of all creations, therefore also this which he lowers himself to watch all the worlds, the heaven and the earth, the physical heaven and earth, that is his greatness from that, and even greater than the fact that he created all those supernal worlds. Because all the great praises and all his greatness of the supernal heavenly worlds, in truth, are really like nothing compared before God. Rather, what is his greatness? That he is able, shemashpili asatzma, he lowers himself to see what's in heaven and earth in the physical one. Because why is he able to do it? Because he is so exalted. He is God that never changes. Therefore, he's able to look into our world and not change at all. And that there's no realm, and he's so beyond the realm. May he be blessed that therefore the heaven and earth he fills, and he creates all the worlds, and only through the level of Malchusai, and he himself is still at a level of Saiviv Kolam. And we'll understand this even more according to what it says in Metachas Zrois Olam, that under the arms of the world, from below Zrois Olam, there's the arms of the world. And he said this is, for example, an idea of an oifen b'secha oifen, but sometimes it says an angel with another angel, but it's like almost like a chain, one link of a chain within another, which it means here one circle within another circle. Which when you have the bigger circle that surrounds entirely the circle that's within it, so number one, it's higher than it on the top, but on the bottom, on the inner one is higher than the lower one, and it's surrounded also from the bottom, and there it's lower than the bottom one. In other words, even lower than it, and it says mitachas Zrois Olam. In other words, that even though God has no form of a body yet, for example, that is because he is surrounding all the worlds and he's totally exalted beyond all the worlds, and there's nothing that could be within his realm. Therefore, for the same reason, he's able to lower himself even to the lowest of places, lower than the whole world. And that's where it says that Rama Kol Goyim, that he is exalted above all the nations. In other words, who is like God, who Magbi Lashavas, who is too high and exalted to be able to come down, yet he comes down, Mashpili, he comes down to see what's happening in the heaven and earth. that which God lowers himself to see is because he is Magbi, because he is so high, he's so exalted, that because he is exalted and above, that there's nothing not within the realm of God whatsoever. And not like the nations who say that he is exalted, but he's, so to speak, within their realm, because they think that everything is in the involvement of cause and effect. Only we say there's nothing within the realm whatsoever, and this is the greatness and God's humility, that it's all in one place. It's the exact same thing. The humility and the greatness is all one thing. His being able to lower, or his lowering himself to see what's happening and being involved in every single thing of heaven and earth. And we'll stop here, and we'll do the next ice and finish the mimer next week.